Hello everyone, I'm Mark from GiraffePad, and today I am talking to Christine Morrison of CMA Training. And I want to say, before I even get Christine talking to us, she is our very, very first sign-up user on GiraffePad nearly 3 years ago. Hi Christine, how are you doing?
Hi Mark, I'm very, very well, thank you. How are you?
Did you realise you were our very, very first sign-up?
I'm really excited about that. I thought I was one of the first ones, but I didn't realise it was the very first ones. That's super exciting.
Yeah, and yeah, first ever one, and still using it. From what we see from your activity, still using it lots and lots and lots.
Absolutely. I use it masses all the time. For training, for collaboration projects, I'm using it all the time.
Yes, you mentioned even for non-training get-togethers or collaborations, you're using it as well.
Yeah, that works really well as well.
Brilliant, fantastic. So this isn't just about GiraffePad. It's interesting to learn more about you, Christine. I mean, we've obviously met a number of times and chatted, but tell me a bit more about your business and what it is that you do, if you like.
Okay, so I've been operating since 2003, and I deliver I deliver crime prevention training and personal safety training. So probably on balance, I do about 70% personal safety and a little bit less crime prevention training. And when I say crime prevention, it's actually problem solving approach to crime prevention, which I do for police forces or maybe fire and rescue services. And the personal safety training is very much about lone workers, and that might be for housing associations or social workers or various departments in the council, such as, let's say, trading standards officers, or the guys who do the environmental services, who get quite a lot of abuse. So people who come across customers and sometimes they're facing aggression and violence at work.
Fantastic. So 17 years of this. Has the business kind of evolved through those 17 years? Have you shifted emphasis or?
I did start off, it was all about crime prevention at first, and I fell into training in a sort of fairly peculiar way, and I have a background as a police officer. I've got quite a squiggly career, so I've changed, not by choice but more by circumstances. So I loved the police work, but for personal reasons, I sort of came out after about 11 years, did a teaching qualification. So I am trained to teach your 11 to 18-year-old children German, French and Spanish, which has got nothing to do with what I do now. But and that was kind of, but I didn't have any adult training experience. And I came back into the workplace doing some crime prevention work for Greater Manchester Police, and was seconded up to the Home Office. They had a crime reduction college in North Yorkshire, which served the whole of the country. And without going into all the boring detail, as a result of that, I was offered to do some training as a freelance trainer. And so on the basis of about the offer of 3 months work in 2003, I thought, yes, that sounds great. Got a big mortgage, two children, 3 months work, no other promise. Why not? So I did it, and it just felt right. And I've really enjoyed every single minute ever since. And what I've really worked out about myself is I really, really enjoy, I love what I do. I love the variety, and I really like the autonomy. So I like being my own boss and making my own decisions, whether they work out well or they don't. But I like that. So it's worked really well for me. And so it did start off mainly with the crime prevention, because that's the work I was offered at the beginning, and that grew legs, if you like. And then I started working with the Susie Lamplugh Trust. You remember Susie Lamplugh, the estate agent? So I developed then the personal safety expertise, and over the last number of years, all my work now is direct clients, but I would say I do more personal safety than the crime prevention now.
Excellent. I mean, it's clearly been a success. At 17 years now, you've been your own boss and running that business. Is amazing. So, and I know from our conversations previously, before the situation we're in now and before lockdown, how much traveling you did, how often you were on the road. What's happened with your business now in the last couple of months? How have you adapted to this new situation that we're in?
I honestly, 4 months ago, if you just said to me, I'm going to spend my days sitting in front of my laptop in my dining room and delivering training, I'd have thought you'd gone mad. but that's the reality of it at the moment. So I could have crumpled, but because my thing is face-to-face training, I'm not very techy. I don't even use slides most of the time. I just use a piece of flip chart and a lot of, discussion in the room, and I get people to sort of chat and talk, and it's all very relaxed. So I've had to change quite a bit, but I've done a lot of training about. I did a qualification actually recently about becoming a certified online facilitator, which really helped give me a lot of basics. So I'm now doing quite a bit of training with my existing clients. So they still want the lone worker training or the personal safety training. And we're doing it via Zoom. A couple of customers are using Teams, which I'm not finding as straightforward, but it works. And my training, that qualification was on WebEx. So effectively I've got now 3 platforms I can use. And I'm also working on a large project which is about e-learning for one of my bigger clients in the south. They've asked to have their refresher training for personal safety as an e-learning project. So that's been, I would have dreaded that years ago, but now I'm really enjoying doing it.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, we're talking, what, 10, 11 weeks ago? Really, yeah, like you said, maybe 3-4 months ago, none of this was happening in your business, and now how you've adapted so much.
I know and you look around and you see people. I think some people are. I can see some people in my circle around where I live. A few people wallowing a little bit, but I think most of the people I'm in contact with are actually, brushing themselves down and sort of, right, what can we do about it? And really thriving. And it's quite exciting. It's very different. I miss the face-to-face stuff, but it's really good, and people are sort of giving great feedback on the online sessions, saying how they felt it was very interactive, and as customers, they're sort of seeing the benefits because they're not having to travel in. So one of my clients, who they're based in London, but they've got staff all over the south of England. Every time we do a training session, some people are traveling 2 or 3 hours each way, maybe staying the night before. That's completely changed. I can see that some of this might linger on afterwards.
That's what I was going to ask. Can you see this carrying on, almost having a mix when we are allowed to be back out there and face to face? You'll still continue doing some of your online offering?
I think so, and I think it'd be nice to offer I will be able to offer more variety. I will be able to say to people, look, we can do it like this, face-to-face training. We can do it like virtual online training, and we can do e-learning projects. And the company that I mentioned before in London, Southern Housing Group, they want to have their sessions for new starters. They still want to have face-to-face training. So at the moment, they want virtual online training for the new starters. But in the past, they always sent they always sent everyone on a refresher course. So the refreshers now are doing the e-learning projects. So I think it's nice to have that blended approach now.
Yeah.
And I'll be able to offer that.
Absolutely. Are you missing the traveling at all?
Funny enough, I kind of quite like, I like that traveling, and I like that time. I don't like all the hustle and bustle of somewhere like Waterloo Station when everyone's manic, but I like being in the train on my own with some time, and I'm very good at of carving out some time, whether it's for reading or getting on with some work. And that's always been a bit of special time for me. So I would like to do a little bit of it in the future, but not as manic as I was doing for the last few years.
I do remember the conversations we've had about your traveling, where you would plan not to travel at the busiest times and spend a bit more time after a session in London, for example, where you'd explore an area of London and then jump on the train at 9 o'clock, and you'd get a better seat. And it sounded such a really well organised way of planning your time and getting the best out of all of it, really. So,
I probably told you as well, I used to get really cheap first class tickets doing that. So I'd have a carriage to myself, food and wine served to me. And I'd already had a bit of time in London to either meet friends or to go exploring. So yeah, it was definitely a win-win.
No, definitely. And I remember always thinking, like, why am I rushing straight? And well, I know I wanted to get home. My kids are still at home, so I'd race out home. But those 2 hours in London exploring an area, it always sounded hugely attractive.
Yeah.
You said the first train home rather than.
And that will definitely happen again. It might not just be as often. And actually, Mark, you just mentioned about the kids. So I can do this now because my kids are both, 28, 31. So they live in various parts of the world. And if I still had the kids at home, it would be a different story.
Yeah, that's absolutely. So our longest standing GiraffePad user, you've been using it for nearly 3 years. How does it work for you in your business in terms of running both the face-to-face and your online session?
Well, at first, when I first started, and I was using it for just my longer courses. So if I had something that was running maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 days, that would be typically a problem-solving crime prevention course, and typically that was Kent Police because they had a huge amount of training, if you remember.
Yeah.
And so I was using GiraffePad for those courses, but if I was doing a half day or a full day for a housing association, I wasn't doing it for them. But now, because we've got the integration of Zoom, I can use it for all my online courses, which is absolutely fantastic. So I'm using it probably more now because I'm doing it for both sets of customers. And it works really, really well. But yeah, so I've been using it constantly since we started. I think it was nearly 3 years ago.
It did nearly 3 years, yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you find your learners find it? You know, what kind of feedback do they give you?
Right. So I think once they've got on it and they can see inside it, I think, I know we had this initially with Kent Police. There was a little bit of what's this GiraffePad and is it a phishing email? So I think the really important bit for me was to talk to their learning and development manager or whoever was my contact and ask them to send out the joining instructions, which specifically said you will be getting, you know, the trainer will be Christine Morrison and you'll be getting an email inviting you to go onto GiraffePad. So having them send out that bit in the joining instructions. And I think since then you've created videos, which makes it even better to send out for clients.
Actually, it's on my list, and you can hold me to account for this. We're going to create a little, like almost a generic invite video for learners so that you can send it out in advance, which just talks them through the steps so they can become familiar with it. And often it's about familiarity, isn't it? Once they're in and they know what it's like, they like it. But obviously, sometimes it's a new thing, isn't it? So we're going to create a video about that.
But once they'd registered, you know, and they got past it, you know, what is this? So that was the beauty of having the internal contact, sending out the JIs. And then once they're in it, they think it's brilliant. And I think it's like every group of people, you'll get some people who will just, you know, accept the invitation and that's it. And some people will really engage. They'll send you private messages, they'll send group messages, they'll update their objectives properly. But the ones who are very keen and enthusiastic, I really, really love it.
Yeah, fantastic. And, you know, for you, in the way that you use it, what would you say is the number one feature for you? What's the one that probably saves you the most time, or you find the most easiest, or has the biggest impact for you?
I really, really do. Well, nowadays setting up the Zoom is. Can I give you 3 things, not one?
Yeah, of course you can.
Right. So now it's the Zoom. It's the fact it's all integrated, so I can just set the whole thing up and so I'm not setting up various Zoom meetings and sending emails left, right and center. That is fantastic. But the things, because I was doing a lot of courses in say Kent Police, so we had a really large quantity of 2-day courses. So effectively I was using the same resources, I was using the same learning objectives. So for me, the ability to clone, when you introduce that feature, which is some time ago now, I could clone the course. So I could literally, with one button, just clone a course and just change the date and invite new learners. And that was fantastic. It really was.
You've just reminded me, in the early days when we first created Clone, you used to send me a little text message or WhatsApp message saying, I'm on the train and I've just cloned an event. It saved me like half an hour. So I remember how enthusiastic you were at the beginning. Yeah.
And literally, we used to do it in 5 minutes, and it was incredible. And I have to say, I always feel very, very professional when I'm using GiraffePad. I think that's the thing that's come out from the very beginning, and it just gets better and better with all the features. But the other thing I wanted to say about my third thing was about the ability. So if you can imagine this course that I'm running in Kent Police, it's 2 days, it's problem solving, it's very, very interactive, lots of group work. We go out and they do a big desktop problem solving exercise day 1. Day 2, they go out to a sort of crime hotspot with loads of antisocial behaviour and stuff like that. So they do some problem solving on site. Then they come back, get very quickly on task, working on little groups. And then we don't do boring presentations where everyone's saying the same, 4 groups saying the same thing. But I put all the flip charts up because we follow a process. It's a problem solving model that we use, and we follow the process. So effectively I have an art gallery in the room where they all put their flip charts up, and then I just get the groups to go around and to look at the other groups and see if they can follow their process, which they always can do really well. And then, so instead of having a boring, you know, everyone says the same thing, because it actually should be the same if they follow the process.
Yeah,
but they're all looking at each other's and saying what's the best. And from a GiraffePad point of view, I just go around then, take a photograph of all those flip charts, upload them in maybe 4 minutes maximum, and then they've got them for the rest of life. And if you use Kent Police as an example, they're doing a 2-day course. It's very intensive, and they might not remember everything, but the next week when they're doing a similar problem solving thing in their area, if they've forgotten what they did, they can just go back into GiraffePad, and they can, as well as look at all the resources, they can see the practical approach that we had.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It takes me right back to one of the very earliest reasons why we built it, is when I would end a day and you'd see all of that stuff up on the wall, and people can be really creative on flip charts, can't they? They can draw illustrations and diagrams and pictures and storylines, and it's almost like you'd look around the room thinking, this is all lost. This is, you know, everyone's left, and all that amazing learning is just left in that room. And so, yeah, being able to photo that and upload and save it, rather than have to remember to send it via email, which they're then going to lose anyway. It's in one place. So it's great that you're using it like that.
And there's one other little thing as well. Sorry, this is the fourth one. As we're talking about, you know, in a course like that, and we're having a chat, and everyone's got loads of ideas, and someone might just suddenly say, "Well, I think this is a great website," and I did this when we were there was 2 of us on one of the courses. I worked with a co-trainer back in January, and we did a week-long crime prevention course. So let's say my co-trainer Janet was leading a session, and I was there sort of quietly in the background, listening in, but also on the laptop. If somebody, or if a member of the group, or if Janet mentioned a website that wasn't on the resources, I literally just popped it up and uploaded it there and then. And that's just amazing. And people think it's amazing. I mean, it's not particularly techy nowadays, but the fact you're doing it there and then, and it's, you know, it's not been forgotten. You know, when people say, "Oh yeah, I'll send that to you afterwards," that doesn't happen, because it just gets done straight away.
And or they might get in touch with you a few months later and saying that there was a website you talked about, and I can't remember, it wasn't all there and safe.
It's all there, done and dusted in one place. So
fantastic. So last question for you, and this is the forward-looking question, Chris. What would you like built into? What does GiraffePad not do that you'd love to see in there?
Right. So I've got I'm in a number of different projects or training courses, and at the moment I will get, on a daily basis, sometime in the morning, probably early hours, I will get some message from GiraffePad telling me I've got notifications or messages, and I would prefer if they could be in real time. I can see that that's a bit of a issue if you've got loads of them, because, you know, sometimes you might be getting absolutely masses of messages coming through. However, I would like to know that someone's left me a message in real time, and then I can choose whether or not I can deal with it. So that is the one feature, probably, if I could change, I would.
Fantastic. And that's certainly something we've got on our radar, without a shadow of a doubt. More in terms of giving you control over that, so you can choose whether you have them in real time or once a day.
And that would be really great.
Fantastic. Chris, it's been, as always, a real pleasure talking to you, and I really appreciate your time, and love the fact that 3 years in, you're still using it as much as ever, and give us such great feedback. So I wanted to say a big thank you for being our longest and loyal customer.
Thanks so much. Thanks for taking the time. It's lovely talking to you, Mark, and I'll see you very soon, hopefully.
Absolutely. Likewise. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Bye.